the closing doors, please.
Hi, can you tell me your name and where you're from?
My name's Priscilla Ortiz. I'm actually originally from Texas, but I've lived in the Jersey City, New York area for the past 19 years. So I'm not sure where I should say I'm from.
So Priscilla, tell us about your experience today. You said you were at a protest. I see you're wearing Black Lives Matter and civil rights on the mask. Elaborate about that today.
Okay, well, actually, the march and protest started at the Stonewall Inn, and then I just caught up to it coming here. I've been an avid activist probably for like about 7 years, and yeah, so I'm all for civil rights and just, you know, everyone to, I wish we could just all live in harmony and, you know, racism could be like erased, but obviously that's not going to happen, so we just have to keep fighting against it. And so that's what brings me out here, and yeah, so.
And how do you feel about this current election and the state of things?
The current election, I do feel every vote should be counted, but I'm not a Biden supporter. I'm not a Trump supporter. I actually voted for Howie Hawkins, the third party, and I'm a Bernie through and through. I mean, we would not be in this where we are right now if Bernie wasn't nominated. And that's just how I feel, you know, like, the race should not be as close as it is right now. And the only reason why it is because of the fear-mongering from the DNC in regards to, oh, we got to get the orange boogeyman out. And at the end of the day, it really didn't matter who was president because it's just a fucking distraction. Because if you maintain the House, which we lost seats in, and you flip the Senate, that's all that matters. He's a sitting duck. But neither here or there, we are here where we are.
Okay, I like that. Were you always a third-party person? Did you at one point lean towards one direction or another?
I've been an independent, pretty much since I've been able to form my own thoughts as an adult, and I'm thinking that probably goes back to Bush.
Wow.
Because I actually was raised in a kind of Republican kind of family. I mean, I am from Texas, and my mom's a Republican. She's a Trump supporter. And so that was like the tipping point for me. There was this gentleman named Gary Graham. I'm not saying that he was a good person, but he essentially was murdered for a crime he did not commit. And so that's when it all started for me.
And
go ahead,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What is it like, I guess, when you speak to your mom about how she feels about Trump versus how you feel?
We can stay on the phone probably for like 5 minutes before I hang up on her.
Wow.
There's no talking to her. She's set in her ways, and I'm just like, okay. I mean, I love my mom, don't get me wrong. I love my mom. It's just the things that she spews out of her mouth. Once the conversation switches to politics, it's like, all right, bye. But other than that, yeah.
How do you feel as a woman? Do you think that Kamala Harris will do a good job? Do you think she's suitable for the position that she's about to? And elaborate.
Because she was for prison labor. She was a bad prosecutor in California. She was for she's responsible for the incarceration of millions of people of color in the state of California. And just because she's changing her views on that a little bit now, I just think that just to be elected, and I think it's very ingenuous. Like I don't trust her. Like, I mean, and it's unfortunate because she is a woman of color. Not just a woman, but a woman of color. And I wish I could back that. I wish just for that I could back it. But her actions in California keeps me from doing so.
And last question, how do you feel that the country is handling the pandemic?
Oh, we suck at it. We suck at it. Like, seriously, people are just more about being able to walk around. Like, even if I walk around now, like when I was walking around with the march, you know, and everything, like you just see everybody out with no masks, like just eating. And these are like Like, I can't afford to eat at a restaurant. I haven't eaten at a restaurant in a long time, and I won't eat at a restaurant, not just because of the pandemic. But if it wasn't for that, I couldn't, because I couldn't afford to eat at a restaurant. And it's just like, so the people who are there and just like all lollygagging and eating there, it's disheartening, to say the least.
The last 5 presidents have been above what the normal presidency is, which is like 55. He said, Eric Weinstein is like a well-known kind of scientist guy. His brother Brett is the guy that started a group called Unity 2020, which is supposed to be like a new third party. By basically good, young, smart people, like Lev Friedman and like kind of science and like they got shut down on Twitter within a week. They wanted to start their own third party, and they got shut down on Twitter for a week.
You see, that's the thing about what's going on. Is like people complain about the two-party system, but yet they're not doing anything about it.
That's what like Brett wanted to. He was like,
they're not doing anything about it.
Like
What a revolution is yes, you may get the bitter end of the stick, but at the end of the day, you keep standing up for your beliefs, it's going to happen. But if you keep falling in line and you keep being sheep, it's never going to happen. I mean, we're still in an oligarchy. Like, nobody won. Nobody won. Whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, it doesn't matter. Us, we lost as people. The top 1% won.
Another quote that Eric said good is exactly what you're saying. He said, I'm tired of hearing people chant the justice of peace. He said, if your shit begins with 1, 2, 3, 4, he said, I don't want to hear it. He said, from now on, I want people that use verbs. He said, I don't want to hear chanting. I want to hear what you're going to do, what you're going to make happen. Like, spitting out the same stuff, like, you need action.
No, I totally agree. But with the chanting and people taking the streets, at the end of the day, that's going to do that. It will make a difference. But the thing is, we need more people on the streets, not people who come out here for a few hours and then just go home back to their cushy lives.
How do you feel about this election?
What?
How do you feel about this election?
Oh, again, I abstain. You're allowed to abstain. It used to be a thing, abstaining. Back when they started these colonies, the electoral vote is like a mess. There's a really good book that came out on electoral votes and how screwed up it is right now. It was really meant for just like the beginning colonies. It wasn't meant for when you get to 30, 40 states, hundreds of million people. Like electoral vote, like we have to find something in between. Because it's really not fair. That stuff happens. So I just think in the end, like she said, they both work for bankers. You are choosing a little bit less of a poison, but in the end, they're not really in charge. Alan Greenspan said it. It's a clip of Alan Greenspan saying, literally like, we, the Federal Reserve and the bankers, in the end, will really call the shots. He said, it don't matter who your president is. He said, at the end of the day, stuff has to go through us. And we decide like what to move on or what we don't. So I tell people, like, don't worry about your presidents as much as you think. Worry about your councilmen. Worry about your local people, your governors, mayors. Like, there's a couple of really good young. What's the young black guy that just got in? I think in the Bronx, maybe Jamal something.
Bowman?
He's the youngest. He's like 23 or something. The youngest, councilman or something. Jamal was like on NPR talking about like he's another young guy though, and he's like. Kind of blue, but he's like, man,
he's a fellow activist.
Take care of trying to take care of good things for good people, like living situations. So yeah, I mean, in the end, people get bent out of shape about presidents, but
Who do you think's
sign
gonna
that
win?
little executive order. Don't worry about him. Worry about the 8 guys that were standing behind him. Worry about the guy he handed the pen to. At the end of the day, those are the guys that decide where the funding goes. And also, he talked really good about, Brett Weinstein talked really good about millionaires and billionaires too. There's no charity in that.